Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button right out of the gate. I would really appreciate it. Today's video is an augmentation to the last video that I made regarding Richardallen being the bridge guy, that he is the guy that said down the hill, thus is the killer. In last night's show, I was just discussing the case and then realized something really important. You almost don't need Betsy Blair because Richardallen should have seen Abby and Libby. Betsy Blair, however, is a great witness because she sees a person matching Richardallen's description and how he described himself. So we'll get to that information here in just a moment. What you're seeing right now are factual elements of the PCA that I put together that are discussing the elements that I am discussing. So it starts off by saying Mr. Allen was on the trail between 1:30 and 3:30. These are notes taken by Dan Doolin right here. This is what he had written down. He parked at the old Farm Bureau building, but law enforcement believes that's the abandoned CPS building. There was an old Farm Bureau building in downtown Delphi years ago. You know, he would have had to walk all the way through Delphi and up to the Freedom Bridge. He doesn't mention walking through the town of Delphi. Law enforcement believes this is the abandoned CPS building because he says he parked by an old building and then walked to the Freedom Bridge, which is just a short distance away. While at the Freedom Bridge, he saw 3 females. So he parked at the old Farm Bureau building, which is really the abandoned CPS building, and walked to the new Freedom Bridge. While at the Freedom Bridge, he saw 3 females. He noted one was taller and had brown or black hair. He did not remember description, nor did he speak with them. He walked from the Freedom Bridge to the High Bridge. So now we know that he's admitting that he walked from the Freedom Bridge to the High Bridge, and there's time associated with that. He did not see anybody, although he stated he watched a stock ticker on his phone as he walked. So as he's walking, he's looking at a stock ticker. So on October 13th, 2022, Richardallen was interviewed after they got a search warrant. He hadn't been arrested yet. The previous interview that we were just reading was Dan Doolin. That was back in February of 2017, right after the murders. So in this October 13th, 2022 interview, Richardallen was interviewed again by investigators. He advised that he was on the trails on February 13th, 2017. He stated he saw juvenile girls on the trails east of the Freedom Bridge and that he went onto the Monon High Bridge. Richardallen further stated he went out onto the Monon High Bridge to watch the fish. Later in his statement, he said he walked out to the first platform on the bridge, so keep all that in mind. He stated he then walked back, sat on a bench on the trail, and then left. He stated he parked his car on the side of an old building. He told investigators that he was wearing blue jeans, a blue or black Carhartt jacket with a hood. He advised he may have been wearing some type of head covering as well. And then interviews were conducted with 3 juvenile girls, RV, BW, and AS. They advised they were on the Monon High Bridge Trail on February 13, 2017. They advised they were walking on the trail towards the Freedom Bridge to go home when they encountered a male walking from the Freedom Bridge towards the Monon High Bridge. Now, in the document, it has varying descriptions by those 3 girls. They all saw one person, but one of them said he was wearing all black. One said blue jeans and a really light blue jacket. The other one said blue jeans and a blue jacket. So they're consistent because, you know, on the trail it's dark in there, so maybe he looked dark in their mind when they remembered later, and the other one had blue jeans and blue jacket, but they all just saw one person, and Richardallen admits to seeing them as well, as we just read up above. BW showed investigators photographs she took on her phone while she was on the trail that day. The photographs included a photo of the Monon High Bridge taken at 12:43 p.m., so that was at the actual bridge itself. And then another image was taken at a bench east of the Freedom Bridge. BW advised after she took the photo of the bench, they started walking back towards the Freedom Bridge. So this is 1:26, a verified time. She advised That was when they encountered the man who matched the description of the photograph taken from victim 2's video, which is Libby's phone. Investigators discovered Richardallen owned two vehicles in 2017, a black Ford Focus and a 2016 gray Ford 500. Investigators observed a vehicle that resembled Allen's 2016 Ford Focus on the Hoosier Harvest Store video at 1:27 p.m. traveling westbound on CR 300 North in front of the Hoosier Harvest Store, which coincided with his statement that he arrived around 1:30 p.m. at the trails. Betsy Blair saw only one male while she was on the trail from approximately 1:46 p.m. to 2:14 p.m. So just keep that in mind. Betsy Blair only saw one male while she was on the trail from approximately 1:46 p.m. to 2:14 p.m. Now let's take a look at the map here. At 1:27 p.m., Richardallen's vehicle, as we just read, passes the Hoosier Harvest Store right here. Around 1:28, it arrives here at the abandoned CPS building, and then he has to back in, park, and then I would estimate around 1:30 he exits the vehicle. And here is the drive right here. This is the drive from the Hoosier Harvest Store to the abandoned CPS building. It takes 1 minute. But I think he probably got out of his vehicle after backing in, getting out, conservatively estimated at 1:30. Then his walk from the abandoned CPS building right here, it's 0.18 miles. Using an online calculator here, 0.18 at 4 miles an hour, which is a pretty quick pace. Normally when you use Google Maps for walking speed, it gives you 2.5 miles an hour. I'm putting 4 miles an hour, and walking 0.18 miles takes 2 minutes and 42 seconds. Could have been a little bit slower, but 4 miles an hour is pretty quick. So he walks from here, gets to the Freedom Bridge, and so he probably made it to the Freedom Bridge area at around 1:33. Then less than a minute later, at 1:34, he passes the three girls somewhere in this area right here. Now remember, they have a photograph at a bench over here, one of these benches, at 1:26, and then after that, they started meandering over this direction. They're just people there hanging out. They're not in a hurry to be anywhere. So Richardallen passes them right around in this area I have at 1:33. So right here you can see it's 186 feet. Walking at 4 miles an hour would take like 32 seconds. So less than a minute later, he's walking from the Freedom Bridge and passing the three girls in this general area right here. Betsy Blair arrives. So let's just say she gets to the parking area still in the 1:46 time frame because it's only 223 feet and she's driving. And then she exits her car at around 1:47. And then it takes 39 seconds to walk from the parking area to the trail right here. So let's put her there at 1:47:39. Could be 1:48 even, let's just say. So now let's estimate Abby and Libby. They are seen driving by the Hoosier Harvest Store at 1:49. We don't know what the seconds are here, but let's say it was 1:49 and they were actually dropped off around 1:48 here. You pull over, you say goodbye and everything like that. See you later. 1:48, and then you pull forward, and at 1:49 you're driving by right here. Then the girls walk to the trail. It takes again 39 seconds. So they would have been right here at 1:48:39. All right? So keep that in mind. The girls would have been right here at 1:48:39. Now let's go back to Richardallen. When you use Google Maps, it says that it takes 15 minutes to walk from the Freedom Bridge to the start of the Monon High Bridge, or out onto Platform 1. I actually moved it down the trail to out on Platform 1. And that's 0.7 miles. So they have you walking at like 2.5 miles an hour. I'm making him walk at 4 miles an hour just to be more conservative in the timing here. It could have been slower. 4 miles an hour is pretty quick. And if you look right here, it says it takes 15 minutes. However, if you make it 4 miles an hour, it takes 10 minutes and 30 seconds. So as we stated before, at 1:34, Richardallen passes the three girls. Remember, back here, Richardallen passes the 3 girls at 1:34. Now let's add 10 minutes to that. All right? And that's walking at 4 miles an hour. He makes it all the way out here onto platform 1, and he would have got onto platform 1 at 1:44. Now let's pretend that he looked at fish off that platform, as he stated in the October 13th, 2022 interview. And let's say he was there for just 2 minutes looking at fish. I mean, that's conservative, right? I mean, if you're out there looking at fish, you're going to spend some time there looking at fish. But let's just say it was 2 minutes. And now it's 1:46. And he starts heading back. Well, Betsy Blair she just got out of her vehicle and is on the trail here at 1:47 and 39 seconds right here. He exits the bridge at 1:46. So unless he's Carl Lewis and sprinting down the trail, he would have passed Betsy Blair somewhere around in this area right in here when he was walking back, or maybe even right in between, because it takes 6 minutes to get from here to here. So we actually have that timing right here. So it's a 7-minute walk here going 2.5 miles an hour. If you walk 4 miles an hour, it takes 4 minutes and 30 seconds. At 1:46, after looking at the fish, he heads this direction. I would say he would have reached there at about 1:50 and 30 seconds if he was walking 4 miles an hour again, which is fast. But the problem with that is Betsy Blair got there at 1:47:39, right in this area. Let's just even say it was 1:48. But she would have passed Richardallen while he was walking. But she doesn't remember seeing anybody, as the notes state, walking on the trail, other than the person she saw standing on platform 1 over here, which is exactly where Richardallen said he was standing. Another problem also for Richardallen is if he was right here at 1:46 and he heads this direction, and the girls, Abby and Libby, were dropped off around 1:48, they would have been right here at 1:48, 1:49 at the very latest, and would have been walking, and Richardallen would have passed them. But we also know that that couldn't have happened because Betsy Blair was already walking down the trail and didn't pass anybody. She only saw Richardallen while he was standing on platform 1 right here. Now, you can make an argument, if you want to, that he went all the way up here and he went down the 405 trail. Except it's still right there. He would have passed Abby and Libby and Betsy Blair on the trail as he walked up there. Well, great, maybe he cut across. Okay, well, see, then there's a point where the defense is sounding ludicrous here. In this area here, you could argue that after Betsy Blair saw him, so he really didn't leave 2 minutes later, he waited here for a few more minutes on the bridge looking at fish, and Betsy Blair did see him, that he walked into the woods over here somewhere, and then some other person that looked exactly the same, wearing the exact same clothing as Richardallen, perhaps some Odinist who was spying on Richardallen, they would be like, ooh, 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 yeah, look at that guy. Make sure you're wearing the same clothes as Richardallen. We'll kill somebody, and then we'll pin it on him, because we know that he's just going to go walking into the woods, and then we'll appear on the platform 1, and then somebody else will see us, and then later on, that can be used at trial, and it wasn't really Richardallen, it was this Odinist guy. See how crazy that gets, everybody? So just in short here, the time it takes for Richardallen, using very conservative estimates here, from right here at 1:34 when he passes the girls to the start of the bridge over here, it takes 10 minutes and 30 seconds. So that would put him here at around 1:44 and 30 seconds or so. Then he spends 2 minutes on the bridge, and then he walks back this direction, and he's going to be back over here at 1:51, 1:50, 1:50, 1:51. Therefore, he would have had to pass Abby and Libby or Betsy Blair. And that's just if he only sat and watched the fish for 2 minutes. And he walked really fast all the way to the bridge to go look at fish. And so here's the thing. Betsy Blair was ahead of Abby and Libby. So she would have seen Richardallen walking down that trail, but didn't. She only saw him when she got to the bridge over here. And that means Abby and Libby, when they were walking down the trail, did not see Richardallen until they got to around the bridge area. Because even if Betsy Blair started to walk back, because she did, she started walking back like this, and past Abby and Libby, it could be that Richardallen was already walking down the trail as well, because maybe he was even frustrated that Betsy Blair didn't go out onto the bridge, because he might have trapped her. She turned around, and then Abby and Libby go out onto the bridge, and then he turns around when he's over here. He keeps watching him from back there, but perhaps he was walking past him on the trail over here while they were walking. So let's say after Betsy Blair left, he's over here. Maybe he was following a little bit Betsy Blair from behind back here, watching to see what she would go do. And then Abby and Libby pass him somewhere around in this area. And then he passes them, and then he stands back here and watches. Then, after they go out on the bridge, he makes a move later on, traps him over here, and has him go down the hill. Richardallen probably knows this area pretty well. I think that even if the girls or somebody had gone down this trail, it's possible that he might have seen them and tracked them down there and killed them in this area, or the same thing would have happened. We don't really know that, but I think this video here shows that Richardallen should have seen Abby and Libby and should have seen Betsy Blair as he was walking back. He says he goes to the bridge. Where did he go after that? He's going to have to claim he went walking into the woods over here, and then somebody miraculously showed up on the bridge that looked just like him in terms of clothing. Just happened to be wearing the exact same clothing. And then Richardallen comes back. But unfortunately for him, when Betsy Blair walked this direction, likely over to the Freedom Bridge and back this way, she didn't see another person that looked like Richardallen. So that means when Betsy Blair got to her car back here at like 2:13, she hadn't seen anybody still. So that means Richardallen hadn't walked down the trail, and at least wasn't in this area here when she made it back to her car. So he's over here. So Richardallen is absolutely locked in over here. He should have seen Abby and Libby, and Betsy Blair definitely should have seen him while she's walking to the bridge, if in fact he went there to look at fish just for 2 minutes and then turn around and walk back, and he's still walking at 4 miles an hour to get back to his vehicle. She should have seen him. She didn't, because he was still on the bridge when she got there, and he was standing on platform 1, exactly where he said he was standing, on platform 1. Okay, so I think this further augments and solidifies that Richardallen is the person that Betsy Blair saw at, I believe she saw him around 1:51, as she gets out of her vehicle at, I think we have it at 1:47:39. So, yeah, probably 1:52 to 1:53, she would see, just like I have right here, 1:51 to 1:53, right around in this area. So he's still standing there. So he was there for another 7 minutes after the estimate was, if he had just got there and then waited 2 minutes and turned around and left. All right, that would have been 1:46. And then he would have turned around and walked back, and he would have been back at the crossroads, I call it, right up here, at 1:50. But Betsy Blair and Abby and Libby were already on the trails at that point and would have seen him. And Betsy Blair was ahead of the girls, therefore would have seen him as she was walking on the trail, but did not, because Richardallen was still at the bridge. The only out you have as a defense is to say that when he got to the bridge, he went walking into the woods somewhere, and then some other hobgoblin that looks exactly like Richardallen popped up onto the bridge and stood on platform 1, knowing that Richardallen would say in the future that he too was on platform 1. Must have been one of those Odinists. All right, everybody, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you got something out of this video, because for me, this absolutely solidifies Richardallen as being the guy on the bridge. We already nail him as being the guy that the three girls saw, given the timing of his vehicle. They saw him and he saw them. Then we have this situation right here where if Richardallen, once he got to the bridge, given the timing, he should have seen AbbyandLibby and Betsy Blair as he was walking back, but he was still standing on the bridge when Betsy Blair got there. That's why Betsy Blair didn't see him while she was walking from the crossroads to the Monenhigh Bridge. Now, AbbyandLibby may have seen him on the trail, but very close to the Monenhigh Bridge. And then he waited, watched, and then followed them across the bridge, ordered them down the hill, and pulled out a gun, chambered a bullet, forced them down the hill. Then at the crime scene, after he killed them, he likely ejected the bullet from the gun for safety. He didn't need it anymore. And he couldn't find it amongst the leaves and the branches. And then he left the area. That's why when a search warrant was issued, they found a gun that shoots .40 caliber bullets. And when they tested ejected bullets, they were able to determine that Richardallen's gun ejected the bullet that was found at the crime scene. So again, the Odinist must have known years prior to sneak into Richardallen's home, as Nancy Grace said, and eject a bullet and from his gun, and then collect it off the ground, and then place it at the crime scene on the same day of the murders so that law enforcement could find it. And then, of course, law enforcement and everybody waited 5 years to finally pin it on Richardallen. Do you guys understand how absurd that sounds? Richardallen is the guy on the bridge. I believe he is the killer. This is all my opinions. All my videos are my opinions, and I believe 100% that Richardallen is the guy on the bridge. He's the guy that forced the girls down the hill. He's at very least involved in the murders, but I think he is the killer of AbbyandLibby. Thank you all very much for watching. Hit that like button. Leave comments in the comments section and let me know what you think about this information. I think it absolutely further locks in Richardallen as being the guy on the bridge that Betsy Blair saw. Thank you very much for watching, and as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there.